Today I want to talk about dogmatism. More specifically, I want to talk about whether or not propagating dogmatism is a desirable and good thing. As you may already know, I don't like talking about online figures very much. This is probably quite obvious. I think I only have 2 videos which include the names of very online figures in the title. One of those videos was loosely about Vosh, and we are going to return to Vosh today. I agree with Vosh on most things, so don't expect a mindless Vosh bashing video. So, I was watching Vosh the other day, as you do, and he was talking about dogmatism. I left a link to the video in the description, so feel free to watch it. Some examples of what he said include, quote, "Selling political beliefs as dogmatism is the final stage of winning a culture war." End quote. Quote, "We want people to dogmatically be against slavery." End quote. Vosh seemed to think dogmatic adherence to leftist ideas is the end state and an ideal. Some of this may seem obviously appealing, and in some ways I think it is. I however think it is complicated. I want to talk about this not because I necessarily agree with or disagree with Vosh, but because I think this is interesting and important. I will firstly summarize my view. The best thing, the ideal thing, is for people to believe the right things for strong, rational, and defensible reasons. The second best thing is for people to believe the right things, but for the wrong reasons, or in the case of dogmatism, for no reason at all. The worst thing is for people to believe the wrong things. In other words, the best thing is rationality, the second best thing is dogmatic support for good things, and the worst thing is support for bad things. Without getting into what the good things and the bad things actually are, I think this is a very defensible position. Dogmatically believing good things is better than believing bad things, but I think we can do better than dogmatism. Dogmatism is bad. It is bad because it is completely irrational, and irrationality is bad. I massively prefer a world of people who believe the right things for rational, defensible reasons, over a world where people just believe the right things and have no idea why. Rationality is a sturdier foundation. Rationality is also very important if we are to build on and improve our views. Dogmatism and intuitionism freezes a worldview. Dogmatism and intuitionism prevent us from progressing through rational thought, discussion, and introspection, essentially freezing our worldview in time. We need to be able to understand and question the basis of our reasoning if we are to ever improve it and expand upon it, and dogmatism does not allow us to do that because it is fundamentally an irrational and baseless adherence to a random set of ideas. Furthermore, I think rationality inherently leads us to desirable conclusions. Dogmatism can lead anywhere and everywhere. Rationality is a functioning compass towards a better world, where dogmatism is a very broken one. Rationality is superior to dogmatism. I think rationality is inherently more progressive because it allows us to build on and expand upon our ideas in a way that dogmatism cannot. I encourage you to ask yourself what surgeon you would rather have operate on you. A rational surgeon who takes into account empirical evidence and uses reasoning to come to the best conclusions and undertake the best course of action. Or a dogmatic surgeon who has a selection of random things he just believes for literally no reason. I know what surgeon I would rather have operating on me. Similar analogies could be drawn up with various things. In basically every situation, we are going to prefer that people be rational. The only time we prefer irrationality in anyone is in our enemies, because we know rationality will aid them against us, and irrationality will hinder them against us. Promoting dogmatism promotes irrationality, and promoting irrationality is a very dangerous game. People should believe things for rational reasons, and we should encourage them to question their views and build upon them through logical reasoning. This is an excellent safeguard against the dogmatic idiocy that has terrorized humanity for centuries. Rational introspection is incredibly important and something we need to encourage. Dogmatism is a dangerous thing to promote. We should fight dogmatism because dogmatism is at its core unquestioning support. As leftists, we are supposed to think everything should be questioned and carefully evaluated. We are supposed to believe in critical thinking, introspection, and rational consideration. Dogmatism is at odds with these things. Dogmatism is dangerous. Rationality is superior to dogmatism. The response I suspect that this claim will get will be that the people are incapable of reaching such rationality. The filthy masses are inherently dogmatic idiots with no capacity for rationality, and we just have to make sure they are dogmatic followers of us rather than our opponents. What a disgustingly condescending view, and this is not an exaggeration either. If you think dogmatism rather than rationality is the only way of cementing progressive beliefs in the minds of the masses, then this is your view. You think the irrational mass is incapable of reason and must simply be made mindless dogmatic followers of one set of ideas rather than another. You think the people are stupid. Make no mistake, if you think the masses are incapable of anything other than dogmatic adherence to a set of beliefs, then this is what you think. You think they are stupid. I think it is a disgusting and condescending way of viewing your fellow people. It is particularly vile if you consider yourself to be rational, some kind of wise leader to enlighten the mindless masses, who will never be able to understand you, so instead you must simply employ whatever sophistry you need to win their dogmatic approval. I think the masses can be rational, or at least pretty close to it. I think we can have a lot more people than we currently do believing the right things for the right reasons, rational and defensible reasons. I think the masses are capable of introspection, rationality, and critical thinking. I think this because I hold the people and their intellectual capacity in high regard. I think that people are smart, and I am optimistic and hopeful about their capabilities. I think people can be rational. I think the masses can be rational. I do not view them as fools, who must be won over by my brand of dogmatism. I view them as perfectly capable of rationality, introspection, and critical thinking. Perhaps some degree of dogmatism will always exist, but I think we should act to minimize that dogmatism. We should try to create a rational society in which everyone believes the right things for good and defensible, rational reasons. This is the ideal. Mindless dogmatic adherence to good ideas is better than mindless dogmatic adherence to bad ideas. But we can do better. That is a very low bar. We shouldn't settle for one brand of mindless idiocy over another. We should only settle for rational and well-reasoned views. We should only settle for the right things believed for the right reasons. What Vosch said is true, in that dogmatically believing good things is infinitely better than dogmatically believing bad things. This is something worth fighting for. I, however, think it is very important that we don't think this dogmatism is the end stage and the ideal. I think we should aim for better. I think we should aim for superior, rational understandings. Understandings which elevate us above our opponents. We move beyond their dogmatic games with our rational and well-reasoned conclusions. How can I even know what dogmatic side is right without greater reason? Without these things I know nothing, and I want to know something about what I am supporting. Anyone and everyone can engage in dogmatism, but not everyone can be rational. Some worldviews are incompatible with rationality. Rationality points us in the right direction, the desirable direction. Dogmatism points anywhere and everywhere. I often hear this idea that all of these political positions are just equally baseless axioms that you choose, just like choosing a snack from the convenience store. I do not like this. I think many left-wing worldviews are more rational and defensible than their opponents. We should not cede territory to our opponents by pretending all ideas are equally baseless. Our ideas are more desirable and are therefore superior. We can argue for the rational desirability of our ideas, and I think that we should. I think rationality points in a progressive direction. Let's not throw rationality out the window. Rationality is a great tool that puts us above our idiotic enemies. Let's not cede our enemies any ground. Their views are inferior and less desirable to ours. Their views are irrational and abhorrent. These are not hard arguments to make. We need to make them. I think progressive ideas are highly desirable. They are superior to their opponents, and every progressive who pretends they are just arbitrarily chosen axioms is doing them a massive disservice. Our ideas are better than theirs, and we need to make sure everyone understands that. We are rational. We are above dogmatism. Dogmatism is our enemy and it needs to be crushed. Leftist ideology is built upon critical thinking, rationality, and introspection. It is built upon asking questions. This very idea, the core of leftism, is at odds with dogmatism. These things are not compatible. Dogmatism and irrationality are the foundations of countless evils, the architects of massive suffering. The great enemies of these things are introspection, critical thinking, and rational consideration. These are the things we must propagate, and they are deeply at odds with dogmatism. These things are the enemies of all which we label evil and dogmatism. They corrode evil and dogmatism with great ease. They are the most desirable things, and our best hopes at a worthwhile existence. Rational actors must propagate them. Introspection, critical thinking, and rational consideration are our friends. They are part of the left. Asking questions is central to the left, and this is at odds with dogmatism. They are our advantage, and when we embrace dogmatism, we give them up in favor of the thing that underlies so much evil. Introspection, critical thinking, and rational consideration are the enemies of evil and the enemies of dogmatism. This should come as no surprise because dogmatism and that which we call evil are so closely linked. Dogmatism needs to die. We can do better, and we will do better. We can cast away dogmatic idiocy in favor of rationality. Dogmatism is the enemy of the left, and not just the left. Dogmatism is the enemy of that which is good and desirable, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.